All right, welcome back everybody. We're going to be going over adding real numbers. I will be doing part of this in two videos. For some reason my videos don't load if it's longer than a certain amount, so I'm redoing this video. We're going to be talking about some of the properties that we have in addition, talking about some of the examples, and especially this property right here, which is called the inverse property. Hopefully you've heard it before. I'll give you an example of what it's doing and maybe clear up a little bit of confusion that happens when you're trying to do that example or that property. So let's talk about some of these properties. Well, first of all, when you're using these properties, you're not going to sit, at least I don't sit there and go, oh, well, that's the commutative property. Oh, well, it's the idea behind the property. It's not necessarily the name that you will have. Haven't had too many times where the test asks for the property, but I know that they do have those questions. So it's good to know the examples and put the two together. But in normal algebra, you're probably not going to need to know the name, just the idea. So commutative property, okay? Commutative property basically means no matter the order, if you don't have things like variables and that types of stuff, if you're just adding two numbers together, it doesn't necessarily mean that if I put this one on this side and add it together, that it'll change anything. So as our example shows here, so if I have 3 plus negative 2, it's the same thing as negative 2 plus 3. Okay, so order of adding numbers doesn't matter. If you watch some of my other videos, we use the number line, and all you're doing is you're putting a negative number and a positive number, or two negative numbers or two positive numbers, whatever the case may be, and you're trying really hard to add those together. Okay, and it doesn't matter where on the number line it is. So associative property, okay, same idea, but now you just have parentheses. And once again, we don't have variables just yet in these. So the parenthesis groups can go on different pieces. And if we're adding, it's not going to matter. It's going to be the same answer if the parenthesis is on this group or if it's on that group. Had a lot of students that get really tripped up with this, and that's why I'm really talking about them in kind of more detail, is because they look at the problem and they go, well, this is different. Well, it is and it isn't. The parentheses are around different parts or the numbers are in different order, but it's not going to matter to you a whole lot. All right, identity property. Hopefully this one's pretty simple. Whatever number you put with a 0, you're going to have that number. That was the easy one. Inverse property. If you're coming into algebra for the first time and you're just, or maybe a little behind or whatever, this property is going to be a big one. And it goes from multiplication to addition to all of these properties, all of these different things. So basically what it is, this example I didn't think was very good. This was the example that I received, but I'm going to do an actual example of what happens when you do the addition property, or inverse property for addition. So negative 6 plus 6 is 0. So in the inverse property, and I'll use inverse a lot, I'll say you're going to use the inverse of this. Basically what you're doing is you are taking the number on one side or the other, and you're trying to add a number to make it 0. So like this. Here's our example for the inverse property. In order to find your x right there, I need this 4 to go away. All right. Now, probably in algebra you've heard you add it to the other side, or well, in this case it's subtract it to the other side. What's some other things? If you do it to one side, you do it to the other. But the easiest way that I have come up with to explain this is that I am taking the opposite number. So I have an x here, so I'm trying to get rid of this side. Opposite of whatever here and add it together. So the opposite of positive 4 would be -4, and if I was doing the signs correctly here, like so, okay? So this would make a 0, all right? So that makes a 0, and now I did put in a -4 here, gave me a 0, and I gave a -4 here, and now that gives me 2. So technically all of those things that I said, if you move it from this side to that side, that one is a little bit more confusing, I have found. People think that you're actually moving the thing, but really all you're doing is you're adding a number to get rid of this side, okay? And if I do it to this side, I have to do it to that side of the equal sign. That's the big thing. It can't be on the same side of the equal sign. The whole point is to get this side of the equal sign and that to be by itself, or sorry, this side of the equal sign has the X, so that would be by itself, and that's what you're trying to do. And so you're doing the opposite, making a 0, and if you do this with the 0, it might even help you as you're going along. So I would think that as you're doing your steps in algebra, that you probably put that in there, and it'll probably help you. It may take a little bit longer, but sometimes in algebra, just being more organized helps you the most. So putting in a -4, -4, and doing that. All right, hopefully that helped. You're just making a 0 once again, and you're trying to get X to be by itself on that side. All right, so let's do a few examples. I'm going to do that in the next video.